what the parks are, or what's going on right now. And then went and carried on a conversation from her seat with members of the group until it just lost all, any kind of shape at all. It didn't have the tightness that your group always has, where they stay focused on this, and I would hope that in the future, that you guys will be more aware of that, because it seemed to go like one, and then another, and then another, and then everybody fell in, and there was just, no good night that night. And so, that's all I got to say. I hope you keep it, keep it on task, and not let them do their political schemes in here when we're trying to accomplish other things.
Thank you.
And I do like this group.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Moving along to, there is no old business, moving on to general business. Number 1, holidays update.
So, we're pretty much in the same position that we were in last time. Things are moving slowly. We need to have another holidays meeting schedule. Amber, were you able to reach out to any of those groups
I
at
have
all?
not yet.
I know you've been very preoccupied since our last meeting. As have I. My schedule has freed up a little bit, so I'd like to get with you and maybe you and I can
Absolutely,
tackle
I
that
have
stuff
tomorrow
together.
off, so yeah, I have some time tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, call me or I'll try to call you. So there's not much change. It's just still progressing forward, the holidays.
Good. I like to keep it on the agenda to keep us, everybody updated and informed.
Twice,
Yeah.
right, yes. Keeps that fire lit.
Yeah.
Are we still having problems finding entertainers? I know Josh is looking
We
for
do
one.
still need more entertainers.
We're almost there.
Good. Any other questions? Let's move on to item number 2, Ganshaw Park Trees, DDA. Nick.
Yeah, so, I don't know if it wasn't last meeting, maybe a couple meetings ago. We had talked about the DDA wanting to, for the last couple of years really, wanting to help spruce up Ganshaw Park. Just cause it's, one of those parks right in our, main thoroughway for the DDA. And so we've had several meetings, about it, talking about it, and, saving up some money to be able to do that. The last couple of years, we've kind of skimmed on our budget a little bit, just saving, not just for this, obviously, but for real big projects that we have coming up this year. Because that's what the DDA has to do. We don't have, like everybody, we don't have unlimited funds and certain things that we have to do. So one way that we can do that is being able to, project the future of what we want to do. And so this has been one of those things since I've been here. It might have been even before that, I'm not sure. Sarah would probably know that. But so I submitted that great map that I'm sure you guys saw. I was not hired on my artistic skills, so don't hold that against me. But just to kind of we met with our design chair, and Joe came at Ganshaw Park a couple weeks ago just to talk over and solidify some of those things that we wanted to do. And so I think Joe thought it'd be good to come by and just kind of talk through some of those things. So just to click, because I told Chris after she sent it out, I didn't put a legend on my map. So obviously the funky triangles are the trees, and the little square things with the little things coming out of the light posts that are there. So just to clarify that. But like I said, I forgot the legend. So my elementary skills just went out the window. But so I also listed some of the things that we had talked about. One of the things we've talked about for a long time, especially with the DDA, is progressing our tree line escape throughout the whole DDA district, and having that uniform kind of look that goes all the way down Saginaw Street. And so we're slowly doing that. This fall, we're going to be finishing up on the north side of Maple Street and adding some of the trees that are like in the downtown. And then when we hope to do this is probably in the spring, and then go to Ganshaw and continue that look. So there are a few trees that are there now that have been there a while. The kind of scraggly trees, not really, you know, eye-catching trees. And so what our plan is to do is, I think there are 4 that are there now. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, and taking those out and replacing them with 6 of the trees that are similar to the ones in the downtown. So again, we're continuing that look throughout Saginaw. So that was the one thing that we talked about, and just having that consistent design throughout Saginaw. We talked about moving the direction of the park sign, just so it's kind of more in line with the road as people come by, and enhancing the plantings around that. And covering up the electrical box that is there with the wood that you can see from the road, and maybe have some kind of a plant that comes up in front of that, so it kind of covers up that eyesore. There were 2 garbage cans there that are currently the barrels that we have, and I'm actually looking at, I have a grant through Oakland County that's due at the end of this month, so I'm putting 2 garbage cans, if you guys agree with that, 2 garbage cans that are similar to what we have downtown, kind of the black wrought iron kind of look, to replace those there. And there's quite a few, which I think Joe said you guys have talked about before, the cottonwood and locust trees that are there. And right now they are dotted from consumers. And so I've contacted consumers about their plan for them, because they kind of are in that line of the wires. And then what they tend to do with them, if they're planning on taking them down or just trimming them a lot. Even if they're trimming them a lot, usually that makes them very unsightly. So I'm trying to get a hold of them to see if they could just take those down, and then we would then replace them with some of those trees that are more appropriate for our park and on our list, on our tree list, and hopefully it will help consumers as well too with the wires. So we're looking at that. I am looking at overall repainting the light posts throughout the downtown, but there are also some of those at Ganshaw as well, and so looking at redoing those. And then I know, and we didn't talk about this at our meeting, but I noticed afterwards that there's a flagpole there without a flag. And so I didn't know, I haven't talked to Brian about it to see if there's another reason, if there's not a light, or if there's some reason why there isn't, but we could help with that as well, because those flags are actually pretty expensive, I think, that fly like that. So I'll look into that a little bit more, but I put it on there anyways. And then also in the future, like I said, most of these we're hoping to be done this spring, but some of them, like I put in future replace the benches. I saw there's a couple of the older style benches that are there. There are a couple of the newer styles there, but we'd like to help replace those as well. But that might be, something that we need to do, in the near future, because those are quite expensive, of course. So, and then future, we've talked about a new gazebo even, and so that's obviously far in the future, but something that we can plan for, maybe look at some grants for it sometime. I've always loved the parks and worked, even before I was in this job, I volunteer a lot of times with the parks, so they're important to me, and so hopefully this will continue that cooperation that we can have with the DDA and the parks, and maybe doing a grant together, working on something together. Of course, it has to be those parks that are within the DDA for me, but just overall. And so those were just some of the things that we were looking at. That sound right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Along the street, do you know how many trees and where? Are you talking about putting them in between the 2 driveways or along the entire park?
The whole park. So I think there were 4 there right now that expand the whole length of it,
Yeah.
those little trees that are right on the road.
So they're not talking about doing, you guys aren't talking about doing like a long row anymore? I know that was brought up in a DDA design meeting at one point.
Well, with the 6 of them, we're gonna have it like down that whole area.
But the whole park though?
Yes.
Or put them in between the,
Both, some of both.
okay.
Yeah.
Is,
And I think 6, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think 6 was just kind of what we were roughly thinking, we get into it and look a
And
little
I
bit
think
closer.
it was depending on what consumers was gonna do with
With
the
the
cottonwoods.
That's right.
Because they're just about to their lifespan, and they trim them back, it's gonna look like a dog's tail.
Yeah, yep, you're right.
and then, is there any plan to do the, planting the hydrangeas and hostas around the gazebo still?
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot to put that
That's
on there.
okay.
So, I know that, Dr. Safaros talked about doing that, and we told him again as well, so,
Okay.
it's kind of up to him, cause they're at his shop, and he just says he has a lot of them, so he just wants to take some of those and put them down there.
We did discuss that right after that DDA design meeting, and unanimously, the Parks Commission would welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll just have to, remind him again for that, to do that, or maybe there's some way that I could help, facilitate
I
that.
think it depends, I think there's a certain time of the year they
Oh,
have
and
to
that
be
could be-
transplanted, and maybe
okay.
we missed it for the year, I don't know.
No,
And he
usually
knows,
it's
he
spring or
is
fall.
like, he knows a lot
Fall,
about
maybe.
that, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and also, I was gonna say, that reminded me as well, that last year, Roberta Pachota had also taken some up there too. So some of those
Yes.
flowers that are there were what she donated and put in there too.
we have been talking about doing upgrades to the gazebo, so I'd love to hear if you guys get any kind of concrete ideas about changing up the gazebo, it'd be good to not spend our money on.
Okay,
enhancing
well,
the
yeah, maybe that's
gazebo
something we
if
could.
If it's coming down or something, and then
Well, that
also-
one, so to let you know, Dr. Safaro's idea, which, like I said, it would have to be a grant, but he wants to take that down and put a real gazebo up there. So, but that would just take, that would take our whole budget to do something like that, so.
What makes that one not real? What do you mean?
Well, like a wrought iron type, like a steel type of a gazebo instead of just wood.
Yeah,
I forgot, you might have said, who's Dr. Safaro?
So Dr. Sparrow is the chair of our design committee. No, I didn't say that.
it's a dentist in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got a couple of questions. Earlier when, I think during our walkthrough, I know we talked about you were gonna take a tree on the street and move it. That would turn out to be a cattle repair, so just cut that down.
Yeah, we talked about it there, but it is right next to a line as well, so we thought it probably wouldn't be even
Right,
doable.
yeah, because originally we talked about replanting that, but that would not, and then the black locust, but I can't say as I'm a fan of taking the cottonwoods down right now without going to look at them myself, so. I would,
What do you feel is the advantage of keeping the cottonwood?
it's some pretty good trees, they store a lot of carbon, for one, and, two, birds like them. It's a native tree. A lot of people don't like them because they lose a lot of seeds in June, but I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I just
Yeah.
evaluate it closer.
Yeah, I think part of that was along the lines of Joe was saying with the way they're tagged right now.
Yeah,
That they're
we
gonna
have
get
to find that
super
out.
trimmed, so.
Yeah, they're not really whacked in back, and there's not gonna be enough, you have to leave 40% of the leaves on to support the tree, the foliage. They're gonna just tear them up because they're so close to the
Consumers isn't about that.
consumer's lines, so.
And I'd like to look
I would
at-
like to take another look, that's all I'm saying, before I
Yeah.
approve taking that down, so.
And I'd like to look at replacing them even with, not
Yeah.
the trees that we have along the line, but maybe something more, hardy,
Farther from the line?
yeah.
Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say is, there's some gilder rose bushes, like when you look at the lake. I mean, most of the view of the lake's pretty decent there, but there's a couple benches
would be, and you can take those out as far as I'm concerned.
The
They're
the
basic.
benches.
No,
Oh,
no,
what are
they're
they,
kind of
gilder?
big bushes, the gilder roses, I'll flag them for you if you want me to. And, if those came out, that would be a good improvement, because you could see
Through a little
the
bit.
light better, and it's, in my mind, it's not a desirable plant, so.
Well, you know a lot about that.
Well,
so.
I don't know.
I'm no expert on paint, but I know that we have painted the light post before, specifically at Ganshaw Park, and it was horrible.
Oh, was
result.
it? Okay.
It peeled within like a year. I'm sure there's products that are
That
better than
won't.
other products, but if you're planning on doing all of the downtown,
Yeah, I want it to be good and not
Yeah,
something that's gonna,
we did it
Not last.
one year, maybe like 10 years ago, and it was,
yeah, cause they're pretty much back to the original thing now, right? So,
yeah, well,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, and that's an improvement from how it did look when they're peeling.
I will,
But that would be a
I will
shame
look
to
into
see
that a
that,
little
that'd
bit
be a
more.
village-wide issue.
That would probably, we'll probably do that, you know, we'll hire someone, so hopefully that'll be someone that they'll know more what to use to do that.
I don't, yeah, we were not professionals that did it at the park.
Oh, is it just,
It was us
Volunteers
parks,
there.
yes,
Oh, I
exactly. It came out, it can be done,
yeah,
or,
Any other questions of Brian?
Brian, we're just like,
Brian Standing.
Right, yeah, Brian's standing.
For the flag, I think that flag might be associated with the American Legion, because there is that monument there.
Yeah.
And it is true that you cannot fly a flag at night without a light, so
that might be the
that might
reason.
be why. Otherwise, you have to bring that flag up every day and bring
Yeah.
it down every
Yeah.
day.
So I did look at it.
I know we do have that flying on the significant days, that
Oh,
the
okay.
DPW
Oh,
race it
so that
and
must
takes it
be
off
it.
too.
And it must be
Same
the light,
day.
cause I thought of that.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
maybe that was why.
Well, thanks, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gazebo would be a pleasant surprise if you could do that for us.
Yeah, like I said, that's you know, we're looking into it, and he really wants to do it.
I think that would be a beautiful addition.
So, well, you never know.
Old iron Victorian gazebo, yeah.
Another quick update, just a little bit off the subject of that, but Claudia is planning, just so you know, planning on doing a weeding party this Saturday morning, so she's kicking that off.
In Crapo?
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
wow.
So, so just so you know, that's started up.
What time is she doing that at?
Probably from 8 to 10. We're starting at 8.
Do you know how many people she's expecting?
No, I mean, I put it on Facebook, but there's been a couple hits, but nothing concrete, so.
I can call in a donut winner.
Oh.
Any other questions for Nick?
Excuse me, Sarah, could you pull your mic up to you closer? Josh just texted and said we can't hear you on the
It's on
video.
purpose, John.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to, thanks Nick for your report. Let's move on to item 3, budgeted projects.
So, we were supposed to be getting some numbers from Brian on that, right?
Yes.
Brian Stanton is doing it.
I do not have that. I'm not really a stand-in, I'm just here keeping Chris company.
So Brian gave me
Oh,
this
okay.
quote for the baby swing, you guys want to pass it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, surprise.
You wanna tell us
the quote? Jeez. $3,437.73. According to,
Picture of it.
looks like.
Of the mom and kid swing, are we talking, or just the baby
Yeah,
swing?
$3,437.73,
Oh.
quantity 2.
Yeah.
So I think that would be putting one in Crapo, one in Lakeside. That's the discussion that we had, correct?
Yeah.
It really is. I use them with my daughter at Clintonwood Park in Clarkson, and parents are fighting over them all the time.
I think it's a great addition, I just wish it was cheaper.
Yeah, although, I mean, really for two.
Just the swings, like.
Is it, so it's just the swings
Just
and
the
not,
swing.
okay,
Plus installation,
right.
That, in addition to that,
probably the just priced out the swings.
Was he going to install it on the existing screen?
That's what we talked
Set,
about.
yeah.
That's the discussion we had. It doesn't say anything in there about, yeah, about supporting bars. I do wanna prioritize that as much as I feel like.
I know without him to explain it a little bit more on that, you know, the specs as far as the picture goes, it looks like it would be something easily. Oh, I'm sorry. Wasn't sure which way
She
it
saw
was
that
going.
already.
Yeah.
I got past that, sorry.
That's what that discount that is, never mentioned that.
So, should maybe I make a motion to table this? Round two?
No, we to discuss, there was that he was supposed to give us, a price on, and then also, the garbage can, do you happen to know how much those garbage cans are that you were talking about putting in Cyclone Park? Or in
Yeah,
the end shopper?
it'll about $1,000, a little over 1,000 for two of them.
1,000 for two, not for one?
Yeah.
You wanna put them both in Dientra?
Yeah, long story, but yes.
And you don't wanna put them in Crapo too, and Waterworks?
At some point I would, yes.
Well, the main thing on our budget projects is a lot of this is price to be determined on almost all the stuff. So, I think at this time, it's hard to prioritize this because we don't have all the information on how much money's.
Right.
So I think at this time we'll table this till next meeting.
But I thought that we have to have this decided on and presented to get to council. No?
I don't think so, I don't think it's a rush necessarily.
Okay,
And without
Because
prices, how
without,
we gonna?
we've only got one item too, we wanna be able to prioritize what we do.
Right. Well, we have Halloween, we have removal of the fence and different things, but we don't have all the other stuff prioritized.
Right, you're right, but we don't, right, the fence, we know what that's gonna cost.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause there's only a few items, 5 items, and we know which prices are
Correct.
out of all these items, so we gotta have, I entertain a motion for a table.
I motion that we table item 3, budget projects.
Anybody want to support?
I will support that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, we're gonna move to 4 is Arbor Day Foundation grant, and we're gonna table that also.
I motion we table number 4, Arbor Foundation grant.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Down to number 5, presentation about grants.
I think that it was fabulous that Nick brought up working together on grants, because that's what I wanted to talk about today as well. We've got these Michigan Spark grants. Now, here's the thing, we are now, I got an email into them that we may be locked out of it at the moment. We're kind of late on it. But basically, these grants we don't have to put any funds towards this.
No matching funds?
There's no matching funds. We can go through, I guess, all these little slides. It just was put together due to ARPA funds. The minimum grant request is $100,000 and maximum is $1 million. They've already awarded these to the first round of people, and they've already set aside, I believe it was $14 million for that first round. Second round, they haven't made a determination yet, but
So
the
they're under
application
budget.
process is already, right, and it was, I think, 14 different communities, and it was ranged anything from repairing splash pads to building just new facilities with walk paths and playground equipment. And I think this last round, there's 3 rounds of it, and this round is currently the 3rd one. They haven't announced the date of it yet, but it said that they would go towards underfunded communities. which I would think that we would be eligible for something like that. I just don't know if we're getting too late in the game. But I wanted to bring this up to us because clearly, like Nick said, you know, we all have big dreams, but, you know, champagne dreams on beer salaries here. And I think, looking into more grants, Oakland County is really good too. They set aside money from ARPA funds as well for parks, and again, we missed the deadline on it. So I guess, I'm just wondering if we should have somebody, and I will volunteer myself if that's what need be, but somebody that kind of follows these grant schedules for us so that we can have these opportunities, because I feel like we're kind of missing out on at least taking a shot at these. They are, we don't have any grant writers in our administration as far as I know, correct?
Well, I mean, I technically am.
Okay, well, perfect. So what would we need to do, like if we see a grant, would we reach out to you to say, hey, we're interested in this?
Yeah, I'd be glad to help with that.
Right, and come up with a plan, and like you said, you know, this could be used for something like, you know, the pavilion or whatever there at Ganshawn, we could work together on that.
Or the bathrooms in Crapo. I'm looking at what's ineligible and what's eligible, those would be,
Yeah, that's like this,
that's a huge
this
expense.
will be a huge kind of opportunity we kind of missed, cause this is just free money. And yet, but the DNR also does grants on outbuildings like that. And again, they're annual grants, but you can use them yet to upgrade bathroom facilities at parks.
Says it has to be completed by October 31st of 2026 on public land with the primary purpose of providing outdoor recreation. Is, Crapo considered public land? Do you know?
Well, from where, so the DDA is looking at doing those restrooms, hopefully this fall.
Mm-hmm.
And the land that we're putting it on is actually what's owned from what we bought for the depot.
Over by Broad Street,
Yeah,
so that would be public land.
Yeah,
Because the rest of the park is leased from Canadian National Railroad.
right,
It's,
Yeah.
it's not public land, it's private land.
exactly, so we don't be able to play with that, but,
The lakeside bathrooms could sure use an upgrade.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
They're in desperate need.
Well, and
Well, I
now with
mean,
that company coming into Waterworks as well, and we've talked about different ideas for Waterworks, what it
We
could
talked about
eventually
bathrooms
be.
in every park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's my presentation, I
awesome.
just, yeah, I think,
When was their deadline? We don't know.
yeah, for this third one, it's, yeah, like TBD right now.
Okay.
They've already done the second one, that one is closed, but the third one is still open. I've got an email into them to see if the application process is still open for that third round. Because the thing with this grant is if you applied during the first round and you weren't accepted, you still automatically went back into that pool for round 2 and round 3. So, you know, we'll be competing against the other people that, you know, have already been in that pool, but like I
and
said,
Amber, I would, you know, just from what I've done in the past, sometimes, if it's allowed, and you want my help to help, I can help you do that, but, I would just try for it, and just to see what the process is.
exactly, well, that's what I was looking at, there's definitely, you have to have like different numbers. I do some government contracting at work, so I understand a little bit of that bureaucracy, and it looks like it's kind of the same for these grant processes. You have to have like these different numbers, which I'm not sure
Pro
what
forma
they
type
mean. So,
So if you wanted to just try it and just throw something against the wall, and you know, then you know what the process, and so the next time it's easier.
exactly. So yeah, that's great, yeah. Once I get like contact back with them, I'd love to get in contact with you and let you know what we heard on this particular grant. And it looks like the state and the DNR start all their grant processes for like 2024 in like the fall of 2023. So here within the next couple of months, I'll really be focused on finding what maybe new grants are out there, what, you know, we can do for that.
Also comment on the DNR. That's why we updated our master plan, because to get DNR grants, you have to have a master plan.
Exactly, yep, I did see that on there.
We're staying ahead of the curve.
Amen. Well, that's what was so nice about this one too, is, yeah, you didn't need a master plan, you didn't need matching funds. It was literally just money from the sky.
Amber, Consumers Energy also has been using grants. You
Okay.
don't need matching funds, it's called People Planet. You pick one of the three, there's three Ps, I think, People, Planet, and one other, there's a phrase. But I know they don't, but it's kinda complicated, I looked at it, there's no way I could have applied for it, because
Like you
you know,
said,
I don't
yeah,
have the
you
information.
have to have
You
these
have to have the
numbers, yeah, that's what I
information.
mean, like, we're gonna have to get with administration, figure out these
I do know
numbers.
that, I did manage to even call the person, and she answers the phone, and she's pretty nice, but other than that, I couldn't put much.
Right, yeah, and the DNR actually offers a lot of grants, like, on waterways and stuff like that too. So when we talked about maybe the boat launch at Bush Lake, you know, potentially helping us redo that, maybe make it handicap accessible.
Yes.
Prosperity, I think, was the third word. I think.
So I don't think we need a motion or anything, this is more kind of a discussion. I will
Yeah,
keep you
that's-
guys abreast.
I really appreciate that, that's great.
Thank you for
It's
that.
a good find.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to closing public comment. Is there any more public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Anything from staff or reports?
Well, you know, you tabled the budget talks. Brian did, tell me that he reached out for, pickleball resurfacing, and they weren't getting back to him, so he's trying other companies on that one.
Okay.
He wants some more, more details about what you're looking for, with the waterworks bridge repair. Do you just want to do the broken, the rotted boards, or were you looking for paint too, if he's gonna get estimates for that?
I thought we were talking about just replacing the rotten boards,
Yeah.
and then I would assume we would probably wanna stain them, but that wouldn't be in the, I think, as far as building goes, you have to let that sit, right?
You have to let pressure treated
So
sit
it's
for
not
almost
gonna
a
be in
year.
the same, it's not gonna be in the same budget.
Okay, and, that was it.
Thank you for the report. Okay, moving on to board members. Amber.
Planting at the H is still going well. We actually had a, bunny nest at the top of the H this year. So we had to be very careful. So if you see a little bit more weeds towards the top, it's on purpose, because I want to synchronize. And that's pretty much the only thing I have to report on.
Shannon.
I was just gonna say, I, over the last 2 weeks, have really utilized Lakeside Park and Bush Lake. I've been taking the paddleboard out there. It was awesome to see people doing pickleball. I had not realized how important that was and how many people were utilizing that space, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Pickleball is on Tuesdays and Fridays. And they pull people from Grand Blanc, Benton, Clarkston, so it's well used.
Yeah.
If we had 4 more courts, they could get more people to play it.
Yeah, it was very well attended.
I have nothing.
Okay. Sarah.
Nothing?
Little update on township parks. They've had quite a few beach fun days. I think they're having a sand sculpture doing this coming up Tuesday this week. Our programmer's really reaching out into the community and trying to get more things going. And if we have any overflow, we'll move it into village parks. Because we're all in parks and parks together.
Great.
And that's all I have to report.
Did you get Speaking of township parks, did you get, an answer back about if they are participating in holidays?
Yes,
with
they,
us
they
in the
will,
park? Okay,
yep,
great, thanks.
yep. We like to bring our bounce house, but we gotta inflate it to see if it needs to be patched,
Okay.
because it's been using it quite a few years. Everybody's really getting, anxious about coming again this year for
Yeah, that would be
holidays,
welcome.
holidays and, Halloween, so, yeah,
Perfect, thank you.
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna adjourn this meeting